Corner, so happy that you're here. So take a seat, have a tea, or grab yourself a beer. Here at Carpe's Corner, we'll learn about our lives. And in between, you might decide to exercise your eyes. It's Carpe's Corner. Carpe's Corner, don't forget reviews. Comment, like, and subscribe is all you gotta do. Here at Carpe's Corner, please appreciate our guests. And just remember, everyone's got something on their chest. In Carpe's Corner.
Hello, this is the first ever episode of Carpe's Corner. I am here with my very special guest, Dave Rubin. Say hi, Dave.
Hello, Carpe and Internet. You know, I've been doing a big press tour right now, but when you offered me the opportunity to be on the very first episode of Carpe's Corner, we canceled everything. Could have been The Tonight Show tonight, could have been, you know, something with Wolf Blitzer or something like that.
Wolf
said,
Blitzer,
no.
Wow.
I said, he's got a green. No, I'm just kidding. CNN doesn't invite me on anything. You know, I'm doing every Fox show. They bring me on live. I can say whatever I want. I sometimes go on Gutfeld's show in my bathing suit and I'm doing shots at tequila. Meanwhile, zero invites from MSNBC and CNN. A little bizarre, wouldn't you say? It's good to be with you.
I would say that is a little bit bizarre. Wolf Blitzer would be a really good show to be on. Now, I do want to ask you a little bit about what do you think of the outfit? Are we good with the outfit?
You look like a very professional talk show host. You know, my look is a little more with the open neck, but I understand you're in the middle of the country. Your expectations are a little bit different. The crowd usually demands that I give them a little more of the chest situation, but you know, to each his own.
Okay, well, I'm gonna hold on. Mom, he doesn't like it. He doesn't like it.
Oh, the pants. The pants were very nice. I hope he comes back. This is Carpe's Corner. I'm your guest host, Dave Rubin, host of the Rubin Report, author of the New York Times best-selling Don't Burn Your Book, Thinking for Yourself in an Age of Unreason. There we go.
Is this better? Are we looking better now?
Much better. Were those Simpsons pants?
I believe they were Homer Simpson pants, yes.
That is very nice.
Only the finest for you.
You go Simpsons seasons 4 through 8, basically. Those 4 years are like the best comedy years, maybe in television history. Maybe there's some Seinfeld seasons that could fit in there too, but that peak Simpsons stuff, oh my God.
It was so new for the time. I mean, there's a lot of things that came after and copied. King of the Hill was around the same time too, but they were pioneers, and sadly I just wish they would sort of let it go at this point.
You know, it's funny because it's like everyone kind of wants it to be let go, because you watch it now and it's kind of painful. When I randomly catch it, it's mostly painful. You know, they'll get you a laugh or two.
Right.
But how old are you?
I am 37.
You're 37, so I'm 43. So we're close enough in age, but this is you probably don't remember this. So The Simpsons came out in '89. I was like 13 years old. So that's like prime, like learning about comedy and like just loving all that stuff and cartoons. And when The Simpsons caught fire, at first it was on Sunday nights, and then they moved it to Thursday at 8 o'clock against Cosby. And Cosby at that time was like, this is before he was the rapist of all time. The show was on fire, and I loved Bill Cosby. He was my comedy hero. I saw Bill Cosby himself in 1983, and he does the dentist routine and the chocolate cake routine, and I just buckled on the floor laughing at 6 or 7 years old. And they put the Simpsons against Cosby, and I had to make a choice in life, a big life decision.
That was a crossroads, really.
Yeah, and this is I don't even know that we had a VCR, and I went Simpsons, and that was the beginning of the end of Bill Cosby.
Well, he met a different end a little bit later, but that was.
Yeah.
So I'm getting some feedback here that my audio is choppy. Yours is just fine, but mine is choppy. So.
Have you tried putting the microphone into the computer?
I haven't. Is it supposed to be plugged in?
You should probably.
Okay.
You just find a hole and you just jam it in. That's my theory in life in general.
See, they say Carpe's audio feed no good. Clipping.
All right. Oh, you're clipping a little bit. You're probably clicking maybe something. You might have a loose connection.
Let's try here. Let's try this.
Have you tried reversing the oscillator?
Right. Yeah, I'm gonna reverse the oscillator. Let's see if that is better now. Is that better now?
I feel good about it.
Do you feel good about it?
Yeah. You sound good to me. I'm not hearing anything.
I don't know. My mic is messed up. See, now this is the great thing about a live broadcast is that it was perfect in every single test that I did before now, and now we're having a problem. The only time that I needed it to work was now, and now it's not working.
This is how it works, and especially with YouTube, you just never have a freaking clue what's going on. The biggest show that I ever did was when I had Ben Shapiro, and Jordan Peterson in, and we live streamed it, and it crashed like 5 times, even though it was never crashing before that. It's
right, of course.
Is it YouTube up against us? Are we being censored, or do you just have a loose connection? Who knows?
That's a good thing that you bring up there. Is that where's the actual line on that? Of you see a lot of people talking about, oh, I was censored. Nobody can see my posts, and half of the time I sort of feel like it's not actually tech's fault. Like there are certain circumstances where it is wholly tech's fault, and they're doing it. But I mean, there's a ton of times when maybe if you didn't have like 50,000 followers and you were following 50,000 people, maybe if you weren't in that crowd, you wouldn't have as hard a time getting to the top of people's feeds. But
yeah, it's kind of tricky. Like we all fall in this trap, right? You see me, I complain about YouTube and demonetization and Twitter shadow banning and all of these things. And it is hard to know when it's like legit versus somebody accidentally unfollowed you or the rest of it. The reason that I push on them so much is because when I go to the supermarket, or back in the day, remember when you used to leave your house and go buy food before the situation?
Yes, exactly.
People would literally come up to me at the supermarket and be like, Dave, I'm a huge fan. I've been subscribed to you for years. I never see your videos, or I'm actually unsubscribed all the time. People will pull out their phones and show me what's going on. So we know there's some level of it. YouTube years ago told me there was a bug on my channel. And then when I started asking them more about it, then they told me to not stop emailing them at that email address. I mean, this is the problem with big tech, because it's like it's grown so big, all of them, that there's nobody to talk to there. You would think that they would have some people in customer service, at least Time Warner or Spectrum. They put you on hold for 6 hours, but you eventually get a person in India.
Right.
There's nobody to talk to at Twitter or Facebook or YouTube. They just say, here it is, and we're going to do whatever the hell we want.
Yeah, and so I've found that in most cases, there's a way around whatever's happening. So don't post at 3 a.m. I found that out. Don't post your new video at 3 a.m. On a Saturday. Things like that. But also just posting and making sure that following the rules. Like I get in trouble for copyright quite often. but I always abide by it. So like if it's something where
I've posted something with copyrighted content, I allow them to take the thing down. I don't try and put it up again and again and again.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. You got to look, they are the sheriff in town. I mean, that's part of the problem in general, is that they are the town and they're the sheriff. And
Right.
all of us are sort of just subjected to it. And it's one of those things where it's like all of us think, you know, oh, is it a big conspiracy? Are they suppressing conservative voices and blah, blah, blah. But we do know that if you're a lefty or a blue check, you know, journalist or whatever, you're allowed to say whatever you want. You can attack people left and right and do whatever, and nothing's going to happen to you. But conservatives get booted all the time. You know, I just spoke to Candace Owens this morning. I mean, she's still suspended right now.
Right.
5 days later, you
But
know,
she's locked out, right?
She's locked out, and she has appealed the suspension or whatever it is, but nobody's gotten back to her. So she's trying to figure out what to do, because it's like she's a private citizen. She's allowed to make a comment. Now, as a private company, you know my feelings on this. Twitter can do what they
Right.
want, but did the government put pressure on Twitter to boot her? And are they ever going to let her back? And if, you know, once you're deplatformed, it's like they're taking away your ability to make a living for people like us. So we do have to figure out some alternatives. And you know that I do believe in competition, and I put my money where my mouth is.
That is true. You have offered me a spot at Locals, which I greatly appreciate. And I did sort of want to have this conversation. I swear to God, we will get to the book eventually.
Yeah, well, listen, I'm here.
Recently I did have sort of a little online war of words with some alternate social media with Gab and Parler specifically, and I kind of wanted to clarify what my position on those are. Is I fully support anybody that wants to make an alternate platform, but I feel very strongly that we need to fight in that public space as well. Like we can't just say. What makes me angry about how that's sort of handled is the answer to someone getting deplatformed is, well, let's everybody get on Gab or everybody go to Parler, and that is not a viable answer to the problem. It doesn't do anything to address it. And
well, I saw your comments on Twitter from like a week ago when you were getting into it with them, and I think your instincts are actually right, which is that we can't cede ground as long as the public square is Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Those are the big boys where the whole conversation is happening. That's not to put down Gab or Parler or any other alternative thing. Look, I'm creating Locals. It's a different business model than that they're doing, and I think we've actually figured out something that's much more secure and a better way of going about doing it.
Right.
But putting that aside for a second, I think your instinct is right, which is that, look, I'm still on all of those things. I have built a home. RubinReport.com is now my home where I own all my content. I can, it's my rules. We can get ad-free video out. I can communicate with no trolls and no bots and none of that nonsense. And I think it's the right way to create a digital home. But I still want to rent the space that I'm renting with these guys. Now, the problem is that the landlord, meaning YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, the landlord doesn't care that you have that you've clicked I agree. The landlord might just kick you out at any moment. So when those guys say, oh, just migrate to us and that'll solve the problem. Well, if the rest of the world is still over here, that's great that you can talk over there, but we cannot cede ground. And that's why, guys like us have to be vocal about this stuff, because otherwise we'll just disappear. Well, I mean, when they deplatform people, you forget about people in 2-3 weeks, and then it's like, all right, they're gone. That's that.
Right, and every time that oh, by the way, I switched my microphone. Can you still hear me just fine?
Yeah, you sound good to me. I don't know if you're talking to me or the people, but you are crystal clear.
I switched it for you. We'll see
No,
how
we'll
see how they can hear me. But every time that someone disappears from any platform, that's one less person that when I disappear, they'll be able to raise their voice. And so I love that Parler and you and I forget the guy from Gab's name.
Gorka or something? No, not Seb. Well, it's
No,
not Seb Gorka,
it's
but
not
it's
Seb.
Andrew. Isn't it Andrew something?
Andrew something.
Yeah.
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 So I love what they're doing, but at the same time, I feel like we really have to fight on the public spaces and fight to survive, because there's no reason that someone like me or you can't be on the same platform as everyone else.
Of course. Well, that also was why when we came up with the whole idea for locals, the idea was we're not creating a platform for everybody. What we're doing is building digital homes. So we've built you a digital home where not only do you own all the stuff you put there, but we're not selling user data. You can set whatever rules you want in your community, and as long as people aren't breaking the laws of the United States, they're welcome to be there.
Right.
And we also figured out the deplatforming thing, because one of the issues is when someone you do something wrong on Twitter, they take you out of the whole ecosystem, right?
Yeah.
What we do on locals is if someone wants to be in the Rubin Report local, which, as you know, there's an iOS app and an Android app, and you can go to desktop. If someone comes in and they're just there to wreak havoc and destroy the community for everybody else, I just kick them out. And the thing is, first off, I've only had to kick out, I think, one person in the year that we've been doing it. But I'm not deplatforming them, because basically I'm just saying, hey, you can't be in my digital home. The same way I'm respectful of free speech on the street, but I don't invite everybody into my house to tell me I'm a fucking idiot. You know what I mean? But you want to do that to me on Twitter, I'll probably block you. But like, I'm not stopping you from doing it. And that's why I like this idea of digital homes. So you have a place where you are secure as the future. And then, yeah, let's keep staying on all those things. Let's not cede our ground. Let's not give them an inch. Let's keep going and let's keep fighting. But know that you're actually going to be okay the day that they might flip the switch and go, man, Carpe's talking to Rubin. We're taking them all out at once. I don't know who's more dangerous.
Right. Well, so I did have a question for you. You don't do live anymore. You do pre-recorded shows? And was that just so you could sort of do things like on your own time, or was there a specific issue? Because you get rid of like the I guess you do stream it live when you release it though, right? So you can still get like the super hearts or super chats and all that stuff.
Yeah, well, I didn't want to do the super chats and that kind of thing anymore, because I have built such a wonderful community at RubinReport.com. We've got real people in there that are sharing real ideas that, people can pay whatever they want to be in there. I have people that pay $5 a month. Some people pay $100 a month, but they're just mission aligned and they believe in what I'm doing. And they're the base, these dingbats on Twitter that keep telling me I'm funded by the Koch brothers. I would love to be funded by the Koch brothers. That would be a freaking pleasure. Koch brothers, if you're watching this, fund me, please. 70% of my funding is through my audience, and then the rest is YouTube rev and ads, and that's it.
Right.
But what I wanted to do, the reason we're not live streaming as much now is because the internet is so wacky because of Corona that we were dropping streams all the time. We put a satellite, it cost me a freaking lot of money. We put a satellite on our roof to have like direct to our house internet that cannot be messed with.
Yeah.
But the problem is that when we're talking to other people, the people that I'm Skyping in, everyone else's internet is out of whack right now. You're probably okay where you are. But people that are in like big cities, the internet, the upload speeds have been terrible and all that. So I don't mind doing live stuff. I like the energy of live. There's something nice about this. Like it does wake you up a little bit more. It's like just like having a shot of espresso before you get out there. And I do kind of miss it, but I think right now, because of the Corona situation, we're just not doing it. Also, my director is now working remote. My whole team isn't. Yeah, my whole team's not here. So it just changes a little bit of how we do business. But I like the live thing. Like live is live. Live is great.
Yeah, I do periscopes from time to time, and I like the live of it, but I like this better. This is I suffer from a problem of not being able to talk to myself. Like I get into
what kind of YouTuber are you, man?
I know, but like when I start to live stream, then I start thinking like, would I watch this? And then I think, no, I wouldn't watch this. So then I skip to the end, and I'm like, well, I guess that's all I have to say. There's a lot of people that are just really good. I think it's a skill, but just being able to talk to yourself.
I think it's a skill, but it's also you got to have something worth saying. Sometimes my guys will say, Dave, jump on Instagram Live and do something right now, or talk about like whatever happened in the news today. And every now and again, I'm just like, I don't feel like talking right now. Like the world will continue. Someone will get the news another way. You can listen to
Right.
Ben Shapiro talk about it real fast, or you can listen to Joe Rogan talk about it for 3 hours, or some other version of it.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, all of us
Or Alex
that get
Jones
caught,
talk about it really loud.
or yeah, Alex Jones screaming about it, and
Right.
you know, he's eating his neighbor's ass and the whole thing. It's like, it's like there's a lot of us out there, and I think the goal for you, like you're starting this thing right now, and it's like hopefully it'll go great, and you'll figure out like the way you want to do it. People always say to me, Dave, you know, we usually do 1 or 2 interview shows a week, and people say to me, do 5 shows a week. And
Right.
it's like, I want people to get out there and enjoy life. Like if you give me an hour of your week, or sometimes 2 hours of your week, and you maybe watch me do a live stream or whatever else I'm doing, it's like, that's a lot of time. And I want people to be political, sure, and be into the culture wars and all that. But you also gotta, you know, hopefully find somebody you love and enjoy food and working out or whatever it is that you do, video games or anything else. So I don't want to just slam people with just like endless politics and endless outrage and all that stuff. If anything, I mean, the whole purpose of the book is to take that away from people and not make them so crazy.
Right. Well, that's a good time to segue into.
You see how I did that?
Yeah.
That was pretty impressive, huh?
And it's backwards because I think I have my camera flipped, but it doesn't actually read like this. It reads the normal way.
Can we pronounce that? Tanod, Manur,
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
That's Elfling or something in
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings. What language is it that they speak?
I think it's the language of Mordor, actually. For you, it's the language of Mordor. But
there you go.
you know, I did want to tell you or ask you, what is it like to be Tucker Carlson's favorite alt-right Nazi person that he interviews? What is it like to be that?
I didn't know that that was official yet, or that he had publicly announced that.
I just assume that you're his favorite. You're on there like every other day, so.
Yeah, I'm on a lot these days. Look, Tucker is great. You know, it's funny when you watch these Fox News guys or you watch these cable news people, or like when you're doing memes about some of these CNN guys,
Right.
It's almost like we don't look at them like they're humans. You know what I mean? Because they're just these one-dimensional characters that you don't get to see these other sides of them. And I think one of the things that Fox does really well is like Tucker, you actually do get to see another side of him when he came in here. And I said to Tucker right before we started, I was like, is anything off limits? And he's like, absolutely not, whatever you want to do. You know, I go on Gutfeld's show and I'm literally doing shots of tequila. And as I said, I'm wearing my bathing suit and I bring my dog on and like, he's fun. And Dana Perino, she was the White House press secretary under, you know, George W. Bush. She's fun. I can say whatever I want. I think Fox has figured out a way to make their people kind of a little more open. They rib each other. They make fun of each other, all that kind of stuff. Look, Tucker and I have a major disagreement on the big tech stuff. He wants regulation. I still do not want regulation. I don't think you take something that's too big to fail and then make it bigger.
Right.
That's a serious fundamental disagreement, but we talk about it and we're good. So I think they've just figured out a way to make people, to bring on hosts that are more human. Where on CNN, it's like nobody really wants to hang out with Chris Cuomo. Imagine Wolf Blitzer laughing. I mean, these aren't real people. They've become these one-dimensional things. And you know, that being said, I would still go on their shows if they invited me. I'm on a book tour right now, and I haven't been invited by any of them, but I get invited by Fox all the time.
Yeah, you know, there's sort of a debate of, you know, has Fox News gone lefty? Have they gone progressive? You know, I think it's really started after what's his name took over, or he's on the board now, Paul Ryan. But
wait, is Paul Ryan? You mean Paul Ryan, the former congressman, Paul Ryan? He's on the board of Fox News.
He's on something of Fox News.
Huh?
Yeah,
I didn't know that. All right.
So my thought is that, you know, you still have great shows. You've got Tucker Carlson, Hannity's his own special animal as well, and they're not left, they're not right. I think Tucker does probably the best job of anybody on television of finding the middle ground and finding something that everybody can you know, wrestle with and figure out. And he really does ask a lot of the really good questions. But in your book, the whatever, I really enjoyed your personal. Again, I've only read about half of it because I had so much to do this week. But
Yeah.
your personal stories, your early on, sort of your going down the path of not being a progressive anymore. When do you think that the progressive movement started going so far?
Yeah,
towards
you know, it's funny
socialism?
because people will say to me, "How is it possible you were one of them?" And it's sometimes, honestly, it's hard for me to remember what it was like to think like that. But you can literally find videos of me supporting Bernie Sanders 5 years ago. Those videos are on YouTube somewhere where I'm saying I agree with Bernie Sanders, blah, blah, blah. I think what happened was probably about 5 years ago. This is sort of the part that I don't like to admit, but I address it in the book, that liberalism, the good part side of liberalism. So I know that, you consider yourself a conservative. Probably most of the people watching this are conservatives or libertarians or something. And all the words are getting a little weird these days. But good liberals, old school liberals, JFK liberals. I mean, what's JFK's most famous line? Ask not what the country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. That is totally opposite of what Bernie says, right? Bernie says, we're going to give you stuff. We're going to give
Right.
you stuff. We're going to give you stuff. JFK said, no, no, no. You should do things to be a good member of society. That's the reverse. So you have to understand that liberalism, as it's presented today, when people talk about the libtards and all that stuff, what they're really addressing is socialists and collectivists and, the progressive wing of this thing. And I think what happened was good liberals. What's the deal with liberals? Well, liberals are open-minded. Liberals like seeing other voices and all of that. And liberals basically want to be liked, I think, in a way that conservatives actually don't, which is a credit to conservatives in a weird
Right.
way. And I think what the progressives saw was they saw the weak underbelly. Like, picture it's a ship. Like, liberalism is a ship, and then the progressives are swimming underneath, and then they see a little hole. And what that hole was tolerance. That
Right.
liberals always want to be tolerant. So the progressives got in there, and then by tricking everybody, pretending that they're tolerant all the time. We love black people, we love gay people, we love Muslims, we love trans people, which of course they love none of those people. They only love the ones that behave, not the ones that
Right.
are free thinkers. But they saw the weak underbelly of liberalism, and they just went in there and they ripped the whole thing apart. And that's why there are no liberals anymore. There's Bill Maher is a liberal, and I guess Howard Stern is a liberal. I still consider myself a liberal, but by any estimation, I mean, really, the phrase that I like now that I've been being interviewed a lot, I would consider myself a modern conservative. And what that means is you just don't have to agree with absolutely everything that conservatives believe. I have a pro-choice position laid out in this book. That's a big no-no for conservatives.
Right.
Yet,
That
why
was a
do I
bold
get no?
move in the first couple chapters there.
Well, look,
Move.
that is something that I feel that I lay out my argument, and it's a 12-week thing, and it's all in there, and I'm not denying it's a life and everything else. And I, of course, knew that was going to piss off the people on the right. But I got to tell you, I have gotten literally zero. This can be memeable now. Zero. Do it twice. One of these. I have got 0 bits of hate from anyone on the right. What I've gotten are emails saying, Dave, I really enjoyed the book. I disagree with you on abortion, maybe 1 or 2 other things, but it's great you put it out there, and I'll continue to support you and all that. I'm getting just an endless plethora of hate on the left, even though I'm gay married and I'm pro-choice and I'm against the death penalty and I'm for legalizing weed and a whole bunch of other stuff. So that does show you the disconnect these days. The right is basically willing to talk it out. That is just the truth. And the left, there's pretty much nobody left. They shut down and silenced all the good liberals. Even some of my liberal friends, public people from a couple of years ago that I think were really relevant and fighting it, have kind of disappeared. And now it's like, it's the libertarians and conservatives that make sense. So, I try not to get too hung up on the label stuff, but we are watching a real sea change here.
Well, and who was it that said that conservatives will disagree with you, but liberals will call you evil? I think that was Krauthammer. Wasn't it?
No, it's Dennis Prager.
Prager.
Dennis Prager.
Okay.
He says that that conservatives think that liberals are wrong.
Yeah, that's right.
Liberals think that conservatives are evil.
I knew there was a quote in there somewhere.
There, you got it. You ballparked it. Hey, it's your first show. You're putting the pieces together.
Yeah.
But that concept, I think, is right. Even when I talk about this now, I don't think most of these people, I think the ideas of progressivism are bad. I think they can lead to evil. Collectivism, leads to murder. Socialism, they always, they'll always tell you that socialist account, that verified socialist account on capitalist Twitter will always tell you, well, socialism has never been done properly.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, yeah, because the whole project explodes on the way and kills a lot of people with it. You guys are all Thanos. You're going to kill a hell of a lot of people in the name of your utopia that will never arise. So that's just a fundamental difference. People on the right, like, I don't know what our political differences are. I don't care. And I don't think you really care. It's like, you're entitled to your beliefs, man. And I want to live in a country with people that are different than me. The left has become so monolithic that they basically just want to crush everyone that doesn't agree with them. And that has nothing to do with liberalism.
It has nothing to do with anything, really. I mean, it
has a lot to do with authoritarian.
Well, that is for sure true. And I think we are seeing a rise of the authoritarian left. And what's so strange to me is how, in 2016, it was the liberals who said that Trump was going to put people in camps and was going to be this authoritarian dictator that was just going to, take over the world and all of these things. And now we're seeing them want to keep people in their homes and, silence everybody on the public square, make sure that nobody can have a job if they ever say something you would disagree with. And I hate to say this because everyone says it, but it's all projection. Everything is about projection. They accuse you of what you're doing. And there's a line from Tucker that he says almost every day of they accuse you of exactly what they're doing.
But that's the beauty of Trump in a way. It's like what Trump said, Trump saw that. It's very obvious to me now. And I don't know if you heard the story. I told it for the first time on my channel a couple of weeks ago about meeting Trump. But I think Trump's intuition, what Trump is good at is understanding people. He understands sort of the rhythm of the media and life. And then I think he has a really good understanding of people. That doesn't mean that everything he does to people or the way he talks about people is always perfect. Of course not. Of course not. But I think what Trump saw was the left plays by a certain set of rules, but it's not that they play by the rules. The left announces the rules and then they don't play by the rules. So the right always loses. So in other words, the right tried it with decent guys. John McCain, decent human being. You may not like some of his policies, but he was a decent human being. Mitt Romney, you may not like some of his policies, decent human being, but they lost. And the reason they lost is because they were going as a Republican versus a Democrat. And if that's a boxing match, well, we can box it out and then see what happens. But it's not a one-on-one, it's a one-on-two because it's the Republican versus the Democrat and the media. So Trump just was like, all right, let's play the whole thing. And he just basically crashed through everything. And now that's why everyone's so sort of crazy right now, because it feels like there are no rules anymore. I suspect some of the rules and decency is going to come back after a Trump second term. I think 2024, actually, I know it sounds crazy to even talk about that, but I think that's when things reset. We probably have 4 more years of craziness and getting through, whatever happens with Corona. But I think after eight years of Trump, I actually think there's so much rich intellectual diversity on the right, whether it's the new conservatives or, there's the more traditional religious conservatives or the more libertarian ones or funky, cool thinkers like Michael Malice. Like, I think the right has such a rich thing going on right now that 2024, they are going to put up a seriously cool list of candidates that are going to be a little more traditionally presidential than Trump. Trump will have done his job, basically. And I think they'll get Crenshaw in and Nikki Haley and a bunch of people that we don't even know about now, but they'll know what they're talking about and they'll know why they believe what they believe. And at the same time, I have no freaking idea what's going to happen with the left.
So do you think that we can have a quote unquote normal president after Trump? Do you think there's space for that?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think something will return to normalcy. I know conventional thinking is, oh no, it's only going to be celebrities and athletes and YouTubers going forward. But I actually think, so congratulations, you could be vice president.
WWF wrestlers and
right.
Yeah.
Which I think there's probably some version of that. I think there's going to be more popular people online that will get into politics. And I think that's just fine, actually. But I do think after Trump, the second time, we will get to this place where it's sort of why I wrote the book. It's like people want to agree to disagree, most people. And that's why I always talk about the left, because it's basically everyone versus the radical left.
Yeah.
whether you're classical liberal and you believe in a little more government than a libertarian, or whether you have traditional conservative religious values, it's like Shapiro, he has a religious value about religion that is not the value that I hold, but we want to live in the same country with each other. And every time I appear somewhere with Shapiro, it's the tolerant lefties who say that he's a homophobe and I'm a self-hating gay. But I was on stage with the guy at a Jordan Peterson event, and he brought me a little cupcake because, we've got this running gag that he won't bake me a freaking wedding cake. I wouldn't want him to bake me a wedding cake anyway. But 3,000 people were cheering us on. It was a freaking love fest. He did an impression of Peterson. Crowd's going crazy. And then I see that people take videos and pictures of it. And then online, it's all the blue check lefties. Oh, he's a homophobe. He's a self-hating gay. And it's a bunch of white supremacists at the show. And it's like, you people are completely bananas. You are completely bananas. On the right, it's like, agree to disagree. Let's make the best country we can. And that, not to say that they're perfect all the time, because they're obviously not. But I'm just, I'm speaking broadly here.
Right. So you said you met the president. When was that?
Met the president on December, I believe it was 21st of 2019. I was doing a event for Turning Point in West Palm Beach. And I actually spoke in the morning. I was opening up the day, and then they canceled everybody because Trump announced he was going to be there. So in effect, I ended up opening up for Trump. And I had never heard him speak live before at an event. And I was sitting in the first or second row, I think second row. And what I realized is, Trump is basically, he's part businessman, part politician now. But really what underlies all that is he wants to be a stand-up comic, I think, more than anything else in a lot of ways. Like he goes up there.
He's a true reality star. He wants to be reality. I think he likes that more than anything else.
He likes being real. Now,
right.
I always tweet this thing. It's like, how is the orange man with crazy hair more real than any of the other people? But it's true. It's like, who is more authentic, Donald Trump or Elizabeth Warren? Who's more authentic,
well,
Donald Trump or Pete Buttigieg? It's not even close.
Contest, no.
Yeah. So anyway, so Trump goes up there and then for the first time when you see him speak, actually, I really put the whole thing together about how the media works with him, because he goes up there and he starts talking about wind power, right? And he goes, right. Nobody knows more than wind power than me. I've been studying wind power my whole life. The whole crowd laughs. Right. Like he obviously means it as a joke. And then actually he laid out he went back to prompter and he starts, saying some interesting information about wind power. But I turned to David and I was like, I know that the headline tonight is going to be Donald Trump claims he knows more about wind power than anybody. Right. And lo and behold, the articles come out. And it's like, he's just, as a meme guy yourself, it's like, he's just punking the hell out of them. Anyway,
but
I'll tell you the story.
They can't take a joke at all. Like
no,
not even a little bit. Go ahead though.
Well, part of TDS is not being able to take a joke.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a condition. It is a symptom of the condition.
Not even being able to identify it. It's not that you can't take a joke. You can't even identify a joke. You don't even know what a joke is.
You mean Donald Trump doesn't know more about windmills than anyone?
Yeah,
He's been studying them his whole life. It's just incredible. Anyway, after the talk, Trump Jr. was there, and we've become kind of friendly, and I've had him on my show, and he was with Kimberly Guilfoyle, his girlfriend. He said, hey, why don't you and David join us for dinner at Mar-a-Lago? And obviously, we were like, yeah, let's do it. So we go to Mar-a-Lago. It's hard to describe what the place is like. It sort of looks like Trump. It's kind of over the top, and it's golden, and it looks like it's just got sprayed with hairspray and whatever. But it's actually quite nice also. Like, I don't even mean over the top in a truly like gaudy sense. There's something old school about it, and tons of security and all that. So we go in, and there's 2 dining rooms. It's a country club in effect. And we go in, there's 2 dining rooms. The main dining room has maybe, 60 people or so. And they take us into the smaller dining room, maybe about 20 people. And we're sitting right in the center, and it's the 4 of us. And then Trump is sitting, maybe 8 feet away, and he's with Melania and Rudy Giuliani and a couple other people. And this is now literally like 2 or 3 days after the impeachment vote. So every story on CNN, the walls are closing in. Donald Trump's freaking out. He's paranoid. They're going to get him.
He's climbing the walls.
Yeah. All of the nonsense.
He's screaming at the staff.
We see him sitting there. He has no tie on, which you very rarely see him with no tie. His hair is like a little more disheveled because he's kind of relaxed. And he's having a ball. He's laughing. Giuliani's laughing. Everyone's laughing. Anyway, we have a really nice dinner. And then Junior says to me, hey, do you want to meet my dad? So we walk up to him, and Trump's sitting, and Junior says, hey, Dad, I want you to meet Dave Rubin. He's got a great podcast. And Trump looks at me and he goes, you, I recognize you. And I was like, oh, well, I'm on Tucker a lot. And he goes, oh, that must be it. And then he turns to David. David is my husband. Yeah, I am gay, married to a man. He turns to my husband, David. He goes, who are you? And David goes, well, I'm his husband. And Trump goes like this. He slaps his hands on the table, He goes, well, that's just great. I can't believe it. I want to stand up and shake your hands. And then he shakes our hands and he turns to Melania and he goes, Melania, can you believe it? These two guys are gay. Isn't that great? And then and he goes, your only problem is you're too good looking. And then Melania is sort of like making eyes at David. So he walks around the table and starts talking to her. And then Junior got kind of pulled away for a second. So it was just me and Trump for about 3-4 minutes. And this was when there was a rumor that Bloomberg was going to get in. Remember? I mean, it feels like another freaking lifetime ago, like thing blew up quick.
That was 9 years ago, right?
Yeah, I think it was 1971.
I think.
Yeah. Anyway, long story short, I have a nice chat with him, but I will tell you, this is the interesting part of the whole thing. Not just that he doesn't care about who's gay, is that I tell him a couple political theories that I have. And at one point he turns to Melania and he goes, honey, I want you to hear this. And the way he said honey was actually with love. Maybe he doesn't want me to say this right now, but I got free speech. He turns to her and he says, honey, and he put his hand on her arm. And it was very obvious to me that it was like, these people love each other. Whatever the public persona or version of this is, it was like, they love each other. And then he had me repeat the thing that I said to her and she kind of responded or whatever. And it was just nice. Honestly, it was just nice. Like, this guy is not Hitler. It doesn't mean he's perfect.
Well, do you remember that that the media was saying that Melania was like in seclusion and
kept,
and she was being kidnapped or whatever. So, I mean, we could go for an hour just on the topic of mainstream media and how they present him. But my experience with meeting him was very much the same. Just a normal guy. Like, my kids were there, so they like ran up to him and hugged him, and he just gave him a hug and said, "Hey, how are you doing?" And so he was not at all like the media would like to have you say. Now he's not a perfect person. I don't think he's some sort of saint or anything like that. He's not gonna get a sainthood when he's done running the country. But he is not the freak out guy that everybody says. And what's so funny is just watching his press conferences. And as much as the media says, "Oh, behind the scenes he's freaking out," if you watch his press conferences, you can tell the guy doesn't freak out about anything. Like, somebody can ask him, like, "Are you a Nazi?" Like, right to his face, and he'll just be like,
Well, I think part of that also is that he didn't want to be president. Like, that's pretty obvious to me. Actually, the one part I left out of this is that when Junior introduced me, I said, "It's an honor to meet you, Mr. President," when I shook his hand. And I could tell, like, I thought that's what you say to the president. And when I met Melania, I said, "It's an honor to meet you, Madam First Lady." But I could tell when I said it to Trump, I just as easily could have said, "Yo, Don, what's up?"
Right.
Like, the idea that I said, "It's an honor to meet you, Mr. President," you could just tell that just didn't matter to him. He's probably Don to most of the people. I don't think he's running around. I think his staff probably calls him Mr. President, but it's like, the guy's had his ego stroked for a long time,
Yeah,
but maybe we shouldn't get lost in only Trump stuff, because people talk about Trump a lot.
Yeah, I know. And actually, I don't actually like to talk about him just like all the time. Like, I think that everyone's pretty aware of my support and all of that kind of stuff. So maybe not just overdo it by talking about it 24/7. I do. That's another thing that I read in there as well in your book. Again, the backwards book.
You're a pro.
That you shouldn't be. If you cannot talk about anything other than politics, there's a problem there. And I think that a lot of people on the right suffer from that just as much as on the left.
Oh, yeah.
There are certain people that you cannot have, like, if you were to go talk to them about something else, they just blank stare. They're like, I don't even know how to have this conversation. What does this relate to politics? And I think that is something that we really need to get over as a country, and that's something that I think that has really developed in the last decade or so, where everything has become political.
Well, look, every time you turn on ESPN, I don't know if anyone's watching it anymore, but it's something political, right? It's always something political. Clay Travis talks a lot about this, that
Right.
it became, woke ESPN basically. And that's, we need places where you can escape from politics. Like, why do people play video games, or why do people play basketball, or whatever it is that you do? You freaking play checkers. It doesn't matter. Like, not everything has to be political. And we've watched politics like just get into everything all the time. And I think it's really important to have those spaces where you can just be people. I shouldn't admit this, but it's YouTube. We'll be okay. I did something highly illegal yesterday. Well, I don't want to say I did something. I'm not saying I did something, but you may notice. I'm not saying I did or did not do anything. I don't want the Gestapo coming here, but you may notice that the sides of my hair is a little shorter than it was yesterday.
No.
So I'm not saying that I did or did not do anything or how.
Did you get a haircut?
No,
in
no.
public?
Carpe, please. I don't want to say too much. I'm just saying, one way or another, yada, yada, my hair is a little shorter.
I got you.
Anyway, I'm chatting with the person who may or may not have, brought a scissor over here and done some stuff. And he doesn't know who I am or anything, which is just fine. Actually, that's the way I prefer it. And we're going on. And just out of nowhere, he starts talking about the Trumpers. And he obviously hates Trump. And I didn't say anything. And I thought, this is exactly what sort of the sickness is. It doesn't matter if you love Trump or hate Trump, but you meet a new person and somehow gravity sucks you around to start talking about that. And I agree with you that this is not something that is endemic only to the left. The right has their own version of it too. But I don't think that people on the right bring their politics all the time to other things. Like, it would be pretty rare that if this person who may or may not have brought a scissor to my house was on the right, that he would have then sort of started bringing up politics. If anything, he would have been quiet about them. That's the point of my book, is that people are politically closeted right now. Good people are politically closeted. But if you're on the left, you feel like you can just bring up Trump. I mean, I'm guessing what happened was he walked into my house, he realized I'm gay, and then he was like, oh, they're gay, they must hate Trump. And then he just felt the license to go crazy. And it's just like, this is a sickness of society. Don't view the world through only politics, man. That is endlessly miserable. Politics is about power. And it's like Game of Thrones. Everyone dies in Game of Thrones, and the only people who are alive at the end, everyone they know is dead. And that's sort of what politics is. It's a quest for power that's going to take out a lot of people. You need a worldview that is much wider than that, philosophically, spiritually, whatever it is.
Absolutely. So, I think I'm gonna plug this one more time here, and
it's called Tanad
Nabur
Dit Kub.
Yeah, it's and you are Nibber Edod or Evod.
That's definitely a racial slur in Klingon.
I think so. Well, it has been a pleasure to have you, and thank you again for coming on my first show. And I'm going to try and figure out what this audio problem is, because apparently yours has been fine the whole time, and mine has been awful. So I think actually that's fine, because nobody cares what I say anyway. So it's
Come on now.
The good audio is yours.
Hey, did I give you enough good faces?
I think,
Because,
well, I mean, do a few like right now. Just
I could do.
yeah, those are good. Huh?
How was that?
That was fantastic.
I mean, I that was my best Charles Manson,
Well, it was excellent.
All right, brother. Well, listen, good luck with this. I'm glad that you invited me on for the first one. You're doing good stuff. I'm thrilled you're on Locals, and just keep up.